Do you like to dance? Anybody? I'll be honest with you, I'm not a dancer. I actually know very little about it. Not good at it either. But I do remember seeing one time a pattern of steps painted on the floor in an old dance studio. It's the most curious thing. It was like a dance map, essentially, diagramming the movements, which way you're supposed to go. It's this pattern. And so you just take by step, literally by stepping in the right places, and you learn the moves of the dance. And I thought that was brilliant. Now, wouldn't it be nice if life was like that? Where somebody just drew a pattern of steps for you, and you just step in the right places and put right foot here and left foot here and did all the moves and the spins, and you came out with a beautiful dance of life. And that's just how it came out. Well, that would be nice, but unfortunately life is not a dance. However, I do think that there are some specific steps that we can all take to really master the life's challenges. So this week's reading, Moses, he recounts the events that have already happened. That's how Devarim begins. He gives a summary, and he talks about what has transpired many years in the wilderness. Remember, they've been in the wilderness for a little while. At the very beginning of his speech, he admonishes Israelites to take possession of the land that was promised to them. It was towards the first reading, like towards the end of the reading as we were reading today, the first Aliyah. That's what you heard. And the way that he speaks to Israelites appeared somewhat intriguing to me. So I decided to take a closer look and think about it some more. So let me remind you. In Deuteronomy 1, verse 8, he says, Ra'u natati lifneichem et haaretz. Very simple words. See, or look. I have given, or set before you, the land. It's pretty straightforward. Now, he wants Israel to physically see the land that was promised to them. And unlike us who are imagining this happening, they're actually standing right there at the verge, at the border, and they can open their eyes and from the hilltops actually see that land. Now Moshe continues his speech. He says, Bo'u verashu et haaretz. Come and take the possession of the land. That's one translation. There are other possible translations out there, but then he continues, Asher nishba Adonai levotehem, which Hashem swore an oath to your forefathers, and then he starts naming off forefathers. Now he adds that it was given to Abraham, to Isaac, to Jacob. It was given to them and to their heirs, to their sons and their sons as a promise. Well, who is standing in front of him but not the sons of the sons of the sons of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? That's who's standing right there. So he says, look, this land, it wasn't just promised to your ancestors a long time ago when they, when Abraham came out of Aram. It was promised to you as well. And here you are. You are the fulfillment of your great forefathers' dreams, standing right here. So Moshe tells Israelites, Bo verashu et haaretz. That phrase just came out for me. Come, and literally it says, rule or govern, or I could translate as head up the land. What's jumping out at me is the noun right here, rosh. We are familiar with that noun, rosh. Rosh just means head, right? It can mean chief, it can mean head, it could be anyone in charge, really. And so here, however, it's used as a verb. Hebrew can do that. It could take a noun and use it in a verbal way. So leaders, heads, chiefs are supposed to be heads. And they're supposed to lead with their heads. They're literally supposed to head somewhere, essentially. So you can kind of hear the poetic language there. I think the language is poetic because we're just being told, head the land, literally. That's what you're supposed to do. And I know it does not work in English like that. They keep playing around with it. But that's what it actually says in Hebrew. And I thought that was to be remarkable and interesting. Now, as we read this passage today, as we read these words, you may not be in position to take over the land from a hostile enemies, like the Israelites of old did. But the Torah speaks across time. It speaks to us today. We have challenges in our lives today as well. different challenges, but not any less real or difficult for us. Whatever form of our challenges may come in, whatever form or shape that they may take, the way we conquer could be very similar. So these words speak to us if we allow them. And I have a couple of practical lessons that I could see in these words for us right away. And the practical advice that I see right here is very simple. You're probably seeing the same thing. It says, look, come, deal with it. It's that simple. It's the dancing steps. We're being given it right here. Seeing and understanding our challenge is the first step. That's clear. You have to look. For Israel, the land, as they looked at it, was filled with hostile people. Remember, they send out the spies, they come back and says, we don't think we can take this land. It was filled with people who intimidated them. But God promised them success. Now, you may have challenges in your life that you look at and you say, I don't think I can do this. But what if God's promises to you are to be true? If He promised you success. Looking at what needs to be done and believing that it can be done would not actually still accomplish it. Imagining a solution to our problem still leaves the task undone. So the next step that you have to take on the dancing floor is come, Torah says. Bo, that's what you have to do. You actually, action is required. You have to take that first step. So we must make our move. But even taking action may actually not resolve our challenge that's in front of us, because that's not all of it. We may be doing all the right things, and we're doing all that is needed. But what is needed from us, perhaps, and this is in some situations, is time and persistence. Now remember, it took the Israelites a long time to take over the land. It didn't happen in one day. And there were setbacks in that story, and we'll be reading about them. It may take us some time to reach whatever the goal that we have set, to experience some success and to see the results that we want. It may take time. It may take quite a few steps in that dance to get to that result. But sometimes we are stuck. Sometimes we're stuck because we're looking for someone else to lead us, to help us. We're looking for someone to lead us in that dance. But you know what Hashem wants us to do? What if He wants us to take the lead? How else will our faith grow if we do not stretch it? And that is what I see in these verses. Dealing with challenges, Torah tells us, Rashu et haaretz, take head on, master it. You must be a leader, even if you are leading just yourself. Yes. All of you can be leaders, even if you are the only one who's following. But leaders do not simply use their head. You have to be the head. That's what I'm trying to say. Being the head means assuming responsibility, making tough calls, accepting the blame at times for all the mistakes and things that you've messed up along the way. And that means being the one who's holding the bucket when the roof is starting to leak. That's just part of being a leader. That's part of owning the process. And meanwhile, all these steps that I'm talking about, and so far I've only mentioned 3, all of these steps, they require something fundamental: faith and trust. Faith and trust that Hashem is working on our behalf behind the scenes, even if we don't feel or see it. He made us promises. Never lose sight of that, and just keep on dancing. My next point to encourage you with, another practical lesson I see in this text, is one head is good, but more are better. Now you may chuckle, but I'm not suggesting that you turn into a multi-headed monster here. No, what I actually mean is that you work with other heads. Later in the chapter, actually, right just as you keep following the context, in verse 14, Moses remembers how he appointed leaders as heads of tribes to help him. Moses needed help. He takes humility to ask for help. And sometimes that's what you have to do. Of course, we always ask Hashem But sometimes we need to ask other people too. So yes, we must enlist others sometimes. If you need help, that's what you have to do. Just remember that you are most likely to get people to help you if you yourself are the kind of a person who shows up to help them when they need help. Sometimes people come to me surprised that nobody answered their call to come and tell them move. I had a person I knew in college very well. They just kept moving, I think, once a month. After a while, all the college friends stopped showing up to move their stuff because they never showed up to help you move. So that's what it means. Sometimes getting help, you have to be that kind of a person. And by the way, getting help, it does not mean you're looking for someone else to do the work for you. That's not leadership. Enlisting help means taking the lead and doing some or much of the work yourself, but relying on others to make up what you cannot do well or do by yourself. That's getting help. As I said, one head is good, but more are better. And sometimes we ensure success by spreading the burden. Some challenges that we face today in life, we may need outside help, and we need to recognize that. Joshua did not conquer the land all by himself, although I'm sure God would have made it happen for him if that's what needed to happen. But that is not reality. That's not how we're supposed to work. And I say, look for other heads. Just be prepared to lead.